Chapter 8, Conclusion. When you're a passive investor, the most important thing is to network with other passive investors. When you're in the first half of financial building life, under $250,000 to $500,000 net worth, buying single-family home rental properties, you're going to need referrals to find out which brokers to work with, whom to work with as a lender, and more importantly, who to have as a property man. You definitely don't want to go to Yelp or any other review site for that. And I call that, when you're under $250,000 to $500,000 net worth, I unfortunately call that the adolescent period of real estate investing and general wealth building too. Your network is your net worth. This is so much truer when your net worth goes over $500,000 and you're deploying funds as a passive accredited investor. Why do you want to work off referrals? And why do you want to build your network? Syndications, private placements, turnkey rentals, and the like are better than traditional retail investments, but the one thing that can go wrong is working with the wrong people. How do you mitigate that risk? And how do you verify that? It's crucial to have a network of other passive investors that you have organic relationships with to help point you in the right direction. And eventually, you can help and give back to your own community. You're investing in syndications and private placements and starting to implement the strategies of the wealthy as you start to meet other passive investor peers and swap best practices. At this point, you throw anything you hear from your parents and coworkers about money out the window. People in my family office Ohana Mastermind rejoice because they're finally around their tribe of hardworking professionals interested in growing their wealth. The first syndication I went into in 2013 when I found a group to invest with through a referral from a self-directed IRA firm. It was better than nothing, right? It's not like I went to Google or Yelp. That's probably one of the worst ways to go because all you're doing is finding the yo-yos out there who are good at internet marketing. The lesson learned was that referral wasn't the gold standard of referrals because that person making the referral himself was a random person, just a salesman from the self-directed IRA company. And because of that, I got unlucky and invested with the wrong person and effectively lost all my money. The golden rule is only work with people who somebody in your organic network can verify, attest to investing with, and has had a positive experience. My students come to me these days and they'll show me a deal, and the first thing I always ask is, who do you know that has actually invested with this person in the past? And they'll say, well, I just saw this on the internet, or somebody random sent me this email. I don't know how they got my email address. Again, the gold standard is going off referrals off people you trust. But initially, I didn't have that, and you're not going to have that, and you're not going to have this network from the start. You're going to have to put one foot in front of the other and take small test investments to build a track record of a non-tire kicker or newbie investor so that you can in turn build your peer network up. Just because you're another rich accredited investor doesn't mean you'll add value to other rich accredited investors. Sometimes the best way to add value is unfortunately going into a bad deal like how I did and telling others to stay away from that individual. Remember, the long-term goal is to build these organic relationships with other pure passive investors. If you owned a rental or two before and have some war stories to display some experience, that helps too. The goal here is to find other high net worth accredited investors who are also investing in these types of private placements, syndications, and the like. The advice you hear a lot out there is to go to the local real estate club, meetup, or hit up some free forums. In my opinion, this is a complete time waster because you're finding a lot of people who are broke. I didn't have very much money at one time, but a lot of what people hear about real estate is house flipping, wholesaling houses, or the general get rich quick. And you're not going to meet the right pedigree in these free groups, in person or online. You're trying to find other high net worth accredited investors who are also doing the same thing that you want to do. Be passive and not hang out with a bunch of broke guys at a real estate happy hour. And to compound the problem, accredited pure passive investors value their privacy too, and they don't want to flaunt their wealth. I'm the only idiot who's probably made a podcast and done that, which is why you guys come to me. And I've been able to cultivate a big list of other pure passive accredited investors in our group. For example, a strategy you see on the internet forums is a bunch of kids doing the BRRRR strategy. Buy, rent, rehab, refinance, and repeat. It works, but it's just not scalable. And it's just not a strategy that those who have good paying jobs making six figures and above should do for various reasons. It takes a lot of time and you have to rely on lower net worth vendors. I've been able to use my podcast popularity to attract investors into our virtual and in-person events. And I also keep things pretty confidential. We run our organization to protect people's identities and operate with a certain level of discretion. Of course, I made the Simple Passive Cashflow podcast, which became a lightning rod to attract other passive investors. If you're reading this book and haven't booked a free onboarding coaching call, please check out my website and sign up as soon as possible, as I typically have a few of these calls a day and I don't know how much longer I can keep doing them. Sign up here at simplepassivecashflow.com/club. We talked a lot about turnkey rentals, but they may not be your jam either. If you're an accredited investor, you may go straight into syndications and private placements. Just be cognizant of where you are and what you should be doing. Hopefully on our quick call, I can remove as much noise and give you a clear path forward based on your personal situation. How do you get started here? We're talking about building your network with the right people. Granted, you're not going to have that solid group for quite some time, possibly a year or a few years, based on the 70-20-10 principle, where 70% of the people are actually going out there and doing it and putting some skin in the game. 20% of your education will come from other people, but you should first learn as much as you can academically, which is the 10% of effective learning. I normally recommend that new people take at least 3 to 6 months and learn everything as if you're a sponge. Learn a little bit about wholesaling properties, flipping properties, and so on, but quickly come off that and start to narrow in on what you should be doing if you're a passive high net worth investor. The second big thing to do is to build at least 1 or 2 people in your corner who you trust to help you. Just double check before you actually put some money into a deal or an investment. I have a lot of onboarding calls with new investors, and sometimes I'm like, seriously, where did you get that idea? People are just going through podcasts and books and they're just a little uncalibrated. So having some person in your corner, and I wouldn't consider myself that person, you're going to have to search for that other person that is unbiased. They might have read a book or two, but it's totally out of touch with reality. Having at least 1 or 2 people in your corner really helps calibrate you to what you're learning. Again, this is highly advised, but many people will not have this when they begin. Generally educate yourself on the right passive investor content. I offer a lot of free guides on my website. It's my mission to put information out there for the masses and for whoever is willing enough to put in the effort to learn it. But if you want a more curated experience that is going to save you a lot of time, check out the syndication e-course for LPs or the remote investor e-course or the remote investor turnkey e-course. I had 3 large pivot points in my investing journey. First was renting out my home and becoming a landlord. I accidentally put myself in the right position, and then I consciously bought the next property in Seattle. I got a tenant in there, and then I moved and focused on a goal and went and achieved that. Then in 2012, I realized I wasn't cash flowing in Seattle due to the low rent to value ratios. So I went out of state, investing a couple of thousand miles away in Birmingham, Alabama, in a property I didn't even visit. I did a test investment, I bought 1 property, and it worked. So in the next few years, I had 11 of those turnkey rentals. I tried the remote investor thing. I got proof of concept, and then I was all in. In 2015, as I saw the turnkey rentals weren't entirely scalable, I went into my first syndication deal and wrote that $50,000 check and signed a 100-page document that made no sense to me. I just learned more and more. I had built up relationships with many investors who gave me the confidence that I was doing something real. Once I got some returns, I eventually sold off all my single-family home rentals without doing a 1031 exchange, paying no taxes because of the built-up passive losses, and went all into being a syndication investor. My progression probably took a lot longer than yours will, because you have the framework that I didn't have. I was walking around in the dark alone. My approach was to try it out, do a test investment, get proof of concept, then move more heavily into it. But too often, people don't do anything. If you're going to keep doing what everybody else is doing, if you're going to keep investing through your 401k or all the options in the crap cafeteria, we know what's going to happen. If you're okay with that known outcome, then I'm happy for you. You're satisfied. Cool. I probably should be more like you. Happy where I'm at. But there's a more prudent way to go about doing this that gets you so much more, so much faster and safer. And in my opinion, investing in more stable investments where capital preservation is the key. The hardest part is just getting started. So take action. Everything I've outlined to this point, from building your network to educating yourself, I did it all by myself. I didn't have a mentor helping me along the way. Maybe I was a little bit more resourceful than the average bear out there, but it took a lot of time. I mean, it took me from 2009 to get to this point today. In 2015, that's the big milestone when I had 11 single-family home rentals and made the move into syndications and private placements as an accredited investor. Time is money, and money is time. But for a lot of us, time is more valuable than money. If you want to access my personal Rolodex of pure passive and accredited investors, lenders, brokers, property managers, lawyers, accountants, CPAs, and other vendors, you're going to need to opt into paid offerings I have. If you're a younger, newer investor looking to pick up your first rental property, I offer a spin-off group called the Incubator, which helps you purchase your first rental property. And right now, if you guys want to get access to the free Remote Investor Lite e-course, shoot me an email and put LITE in the subject line, LITE, and we'll get you access to that. I've created a vision in my business where I want to work with high quality people and create a community of those who want to hit financial freedom and give back. At the end of the day, I enjoy talking and writing about finances. This stuff changes a lot of the time, and it's definitely a hobby of mine. Going into good deals is just one part of the whole flow chart. Going into good deals that do cost aggregations to extract out a lot of bonus depreciation and passive losses allow us to implement many tax strategies to lower our taxable burden, which we've covered in great detail. But this allows us to keep more in our pocket and then to invest more, which creates an harmonious cycle. It's a good, happy, infinite loop to grow our net worth faster. And then we start to employ different high net worth strategies such as infinite banking via whole life insurance and start investing from there out of that vehicle while overlaying other legal strategies that the wealthy do. This is exactly why the rich get richer and those doing what everybody else is doing stay where they're at. Once you get to the point where you hit a certain critical mass number, which is your passive cash flow number where you don't have to work anymore. But when your mind learns about these strategies and starts to slowly implement, you hit a point of zero gravity, where some people also refer to as escape velocity. Imagine you're a rocket taking off from Earth. There's so much effort to get 1 inch off the ground. Some people say that it takes half of the fuel just for that initial lift. To get that first $100,000 net worth is the hardest part. But then the work doesn't start there, right? You've got to take this rocket from a foot off the ground to get it out of the atmosphere, and that is getting to this point of your passive cash flow number. For some frugal people, you guys know who you guys are out there, all they need is $5,000 passive a month to hit that escape velocity and break out of the Earth's atmosphere. For most people, especially you guys living in the Bay Area out there, that number is probably double or triple that. But this is not a get-rich-quick thing. It is certainly a get-rich-surely strategy, and to grow your net worth from there. I'm confident you can do it. Take control of your financial future today. We can help you do that. Join our community at simplepassivecashflow.com/club.